One last battle to hold the line against the night.
The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther.
Hold the line. No one gets through, no matter what.
Sir, what are your orders?
There's only one order, Lieutenant. We hold.
Incoming transmission.
Allied reinforcements have arrived from the west.
On Mojo 50 Radio. The Millennial Conservative Resistance begins right here, right now.
Oh, yes indeed, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the new Millennial Conservative Resistance does indeed begin right here, right now with you. You are listening to, and hopefully watching, the HoloNet on the mighty Mojo 50. Today is Saturday, the 28th of July in the year of our Lord 2019, and story just coming in quite recently. A judge has dismissed a case brought by the Covington students, a defamation case against the Washington Post. This reported by Fox News. A federal judge in Kentucky Friday threw out a defamation lawsuit filed against the Washington Post by the Covington Catholic High School student Nicholas Sandman and his family over the paper's reporting of the incident between the young man and a Native American man this past January in Washington. The lawsuit, which was filed in February, sought $250 million in damages and accused the Post of practicing a modern-day form of McCarthyism by targeting Sandman and using its vast financial resources to enter the bully pulpit by publishing a series of false and defamatory print and online articles to smear a young boy who was, in its view, an acceptable casualty in their war against the president. How about them apples? Now, make sure you check this out, but I wanted to point this out. A link will be down in the description. It was a 36-page ruling. Haven't had a chance to read it all yet, but the highlights that Fox calls out strike me as just pure, unadulterated bullshit. The judge said, Judge William Bertelsmann noted that the Post never mentioned Sandman by name in its initial coverage of the incident, referring only to groups of, quote, hat-wearing teens. This is despite the fact that his picture was plastered all over every news source out there, right from the outset. And he added that, quote, the words used contain no reflection upon any particular individual, and thus could not be construed as defamation. Except for the picture of his face plastered all over the story, right? I mean, this is where I think the law hasn't quite caught up with the times. If you have a story stating this hat-wearing teen was racist to this Native American meth head, oop, I say that out loud, high-level production here. But you have his face plastered all over everything, every single story, every newspaper article, every online piece, every single short little piece on CNN, MSNBC, and Fox and everybody else had his face everywhere. Sure, he didn't call him out by name, but this is the 21st freaking century. Everybody knew this kid's name inside an hour of this story breaking. His Facebook page was hacked. I don't think it was hacked actually, but he was doxxed. The information got out. People are relentless anymore. Your face gets in the news, they will find you if your photo is anywhere else online. So is the fact that they just didn't use his name or didn't call out his name outright, despite his photo being front and center throughout the story, can it be photographically libelous now? Or defamation through photography? That's a serious question. Bertelsmann added, these words used contain no reflection upon any particular individual and thus could not be construed as defamation. The judge also ruled that the newspaper used language that was, quote, loose, figurative, and rhetorical hyperbole, which is protected by the First Amendment. So does that mean that a newspaper, a major publication, a major news outlet can say, haha, JK, LOL, and move on? Because it was just rhetorical hyperbole? Whatever happened to journalistic standards? Whatever happened to living up to something bigger than yourself? Well, we have the opportunity every day to show the people at the Washington Post and the people on the left that we can live up to something bigger than ourselves. Here's how. Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile. We know that Google and YouTube aren't just silencing conservatives online. They're also manipulating their algorithms to interfere with the 2020 election. You know it's happening. I know it's happening. Why bother avoiding the conversation? Meanwhile, big mobile phone companies are taking the proceeds from your mobile phone bill, yours and mine, and they're funding progressive candidates and causes. This includes promoting illegal immigration, abortion, and gun control. We have only one way to preserve the Constitution and the values which made our country great: stick together. This means supporting each other's causes and companies. Leading that charge in this effort is veteran-led Patriot Mobile. With unlimited plans starting as low as $25 per month, get the same crystal clear nationwide service with a portion of your bill going to support the causes that you believe in. Come on over to patriotmobile.com/mojo50. Switching is easy. You'll get a free month of service when you use promo code COMEONOVER. Since 2015, they've used $2 million to support the Constitution and the values that we believe in, but have a long way to go. You have a choice. Come on over today. patriotmobile.com, patriotmobile.com, promo code COMEONOVER. So, I honestly think this is going to go much further. The Sandman case, I think this is going to get up to the appellate courts and even the Supreme Court. This is just a small setback. This is federal district court, and just the hits just keep on coming from Judge Bertelsmann. He said the ruling that he said in the ruling that he had accepted Sandman's contention that, quote, when he was standing motionless in the confrontation with Phillips, his intent was to calm the situation. But he noted Phillips asserted that he was being blocked from passing, and Phillips' opinion was reported by the newspaper. He went on to say they may have been erroneous, but they are opinion protected by the First Amendment, Bertelsmann wrote. So the ultimate defense against libel or slander is that it's the truth. So now, according to Judge Bertelsmann, the ultimate protection against libel and slander isn't that it's the truth, it's that it's your opinion. Despite the fact that these stories were being put out there not as opinion pieces, these were being put out as news. These were being put out as factual. These were being put out as journalism, not opinion pieces. I do opinion. That's why I'm here. That's why I have a podcast. That's why I have a radio show. I do opinion work. Once in a blue moon, I have written some hard journalism, and I always point out the difference between the two. Because anyone should who does both. You point it out. This is an actual hard news story. This is an opinion piece. I will tell you right now, if you're ever in doubt, it's probably an opinion piece with me. The Sandman family said they're going to be asking the appellate court to review the trial court's decision on appeal. Ted Sandman, Nicholas's father, said, if what was done to Nicholas is not legally actionable, then no one is safe. And he's absolutely right. Todd McMurdy, the co-counsel for the Sandman family, said, the law must protect innocent minors targeted by journalists publishing clickbait sensationalized news. This is especially true in the current hyper-partisan political environment. Sandman has also filed separate lawsuits against CNN and NBC that remain pending. We're going to keep an eye on those as well. So, journalism or whatever passes for journalism at the Post these days, scores a victory, and victims of smear campaigns, libel and slander and defamation handed a setback today. But that shouldn't be the takeaway, and it's not going to be. We have a lot of other stories to get into today. In the meanwhile, you hear about Matt Locke? I was bummed, man. I've haven't been with Mojo 50 long, but I've come to consider Mr. Matt Locke of the Conservative Cartel, loudest mouth in the South. I've come to consider him a mentor, and I heard and was very, very glad to hear that he's been presented the chair over at WoWo, one of the biggest legacy stations out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'm thrilled for him. I'm happy for him. I'm going to miss him, though. But hey, did want to let you know, keep it right here on Mojo 50, because we're always changing. We're always evolving. And I can't get into details, but we had our call just yesterday. All the hosts had their conference call. We're going to have another one today, I think. Maybe by the time this airs, it'll have already happened. But we're working on big changes that are going to be coming to Mojo 50. Possible expansions to shows that you love, changes to the way we do radio, to the way we bring the story to you, to the way we bring our opinions to you. And we are keeping this dream of Doc Thompson's alive and kicking. And it all depends on you. It's all on you. So if you love what we're doing here at Mojo 50, and I sincerely hope that you do, there are many, many ways to support us. If you love what I'm doing here at the HoloNet, there's ways to support the HoloNet as well. But I did want to direct you to check out mojo50.com/shop. You can go on mojo50.com/shop, and you can actually pick up cannabinoid oil there if you need to. That's KBMD. Dr. Ken Brown came out with his own version of cannabinoid oil, and that is on mojo50.com/shop. Give me just a second. I'll pull the promo code on that for you because, I'm a goof and I don't have that pulled up already. But yeah, the KBMD CBD is physician recommended because it's been used with real patients with real success. It's the best price per milligram of any third-party tested CBD on the market. It's recommended clinically because it's trusted by doctors. It's a full-spectrum CBD, and it works best when it's used with other natural terpenes and compounds. It's called the entourage effect. So it's third-party tested with real COA. Do not use any CBD that does not have a certificate of authenticity. And KBMD CBD is CO2 extracted, so it delivers the cleanest extract without the harsh chemicals. Excuse me, won't make you loopy. So if you do get on there and check that out, you can actually save $15 on that. And that is with promo code Matt. So that is on mojo50.com/shop. And that is your KBMD CBD oils. Save $15 on that now on mojo50.com. So make sure you check that out. And stick with us here on Mojo 50. You have a ton of amazing shows. You've got the Defenders Live. You've got Battle for Freedom. You've got Whiskey 6. You've got Big Sarge. They just expanded that show. I'm really happy for Big Sarge. You've got Bells of Liberty. You've got, Daily Mojo with Brad Staggs. Great show. So thank you. Thank you for being a part of this movement, of this radio revolution of Mojo 50. And we're going to keep on jamming, and I wish my buddy Matt well, and I wish him nothing but boundless success. So Godspeed, Matt Locke, and what was that? What was the thing Doc Thompson used to say? Well, I'll save that for Doc, but good night, Doc Thompson, wherever you are. Well, we're going to know where Matt is. Matt's on WoWo. So we'll be looking for his show when he comes back in. But backing away from the inside baseball, got my 1776 Betsy Ross shirt on. I'm going to be redesigning the HoloNet logo, by the way. I think I'm a little tired of the look right now, and I think I want to integrate kind of this look into it. So look for that in the next couple of weeks. But let's get back to some of the more important stories. Story coming out of Texas. A Texas resident and a U.S. citizen was held in immigration detention for more than 3 weeks. And according to the Dallas Morning News, the conditions that he and others were held in were inhumane. Okay, so this is from theblaze.com. This is a guy by the name of Galicia. He was reportedly first held at the Customs and Border Protection Checkpoint in Falfurrias, Texas, and later at the South Texas Detention Complex in Pearsall. Okay, so stay with me on this one because there's a little detail that the mainstream media is glossing over, and it's crap. So Galicia told DMN, Dallas Morning News, it was inhumane how they treated us. It got to the point where I was just ready to sign a deportation paper just not to be suffering there anymore. I just needed to get out of there. Galicia said he lost about 26 pounds during his detention because he wasn't given enough food. He also said he wasn't allowed to shower. He said he was held in a crowded area with 60 other men who were all forced to sleep on the same floor, some of whom were very sick. Border Patrol declined to specifically address his claims about the facility conditions when they were contacted by the Blaze on Thursday. Two agencies issued the following statement. You can read that statement later. But here's the important thing, okay? So check out the story. Link will be in the description. Here's the kicker. So you might ask, how did a American citizen land in a detention center, right? A little weird, isn't it? It's like, what were you doing? Galicia, 18, was stopped at the CBP checkpoint in Falfurrias, Texas, on June 27, as he, his brother, and some friends drove from Edinburgh in South Texas to a soccer scouting event at Ranger College in North Texas. Galicia was born in Dallas. His brother Marlon was in the country illegally. Oh. You know, aiding and abetting somebody in the process of being in the nation illegally is also a crime. Just want to point that out. He was in the country illegally and voluntarily deported a few days into his detention. Okay. Plot thickens, right? At least one of the friends in the car was also detained. When Galicia was stopped, he had his Texas state ID, a wallet copy of his birth certificate, and his social security card on him. So it sounds like he should have been in pretty good shape, right? Authorities doubted the validity of his documents and detained him anyway. Possibly due to the fact that his mother, an illegal immigrant still living in Texas, used a fraudulent visitor's visa to get Galicia back in the U.S. when he was a baby and claimed he had been born in Mexico. So his mother, to get him back into the United States, committed fraud. She committed immigration fraud by using a fraudulent visitor's visa to get him back into the country when he was a boy. Now, go to this. There was another story that I had pulled up that said it actually got even better. Let's see here. Another story here by Aaron Cohen. According to Francisco's mother, San Juana, when Francisco was 1 year old, they moved from Dallas back to Reynosa, Mexico, while she was pregnant with his younger brother, Marlon. Marlon was born in Reynosa and was deported back there after being stopped, along with Francisco in June. San Juana, who is an illegal immigrant, then wanted to move back to the U.S. to escape from drug cartel violence. Okay. She feared she would not be able to get Francisco a passport because her name was not on his birth certificate. She used a fake ID while she was living and working in Texas. So that's two crimes now that the mother here committed, which resulted in her son's detention. Not indirectly, not constant, not just, happenstance. No, you committed two crimes. Number one, you brought your son illegally back into the country using a forged visitor's visa, a fraudulent visitor's visa. Second, you actually lied on his birth certificate, making that a fraudulent document, which is invalid. So your son was technically a stateless person for a little while there, because all the documents that he was carrying on him stemmed from the birth certificate, which was legally worthless because it was bullshit. Bullshit. If I were to lie on one of my children's birth certificates, that document is worthless because it's fraudulent. It's based on a lie. Is it any wonder this kid wound up getting detained? So, Aaron Cohen writes, why does it matter? The narrative surrounding the situation after the initial DMN report was developing to focus on ICE unjustly holding a citizen just because of his apparent nationality and or familial relationship to illegal immigrants. Granted, he was traveling with an illegal immigrant and abetting him. But I digress. The revelation that the mistake was caused, at least in part, more like primarily, by a nearly 2 decades old fraudulent visa changing things significantly. While it is still terrible that a U.S. citizen was detained through no fault of his own for weeks, it seems clear the law enforcement officials whose job it is to verify the truth and validity of the information they are given had multiple reasons for pause when it came to Francisco's fraudulent documentation. If there is any legitimate criticism, it is perhaps tied to the question of why this took nearly a month to straighten out while Francisco sat in a detention facility. But the damage has already been done to Francisco and the perception of immigration enforcement in the eyes of those who are already prone to demonize it, but thankfully the situation came to a happy resolution, because yes, he has been released because he is in fact an American citizen by writ of birthright citizenship. He is the very definition of an anchor baby. His mother, an illegal immigrant, came to the United States, had a child, using forged documents so she wouldn't get deported from the country when she had him, then moved back to Mexico and used a fraudulent passport to get back in. So his mother, in 2 cases of either creating or using fraudulent documentation, set this entire sequence of events in motion. So who's at fault here? Methinks that Mommy might be getting a visit from the authorities because she has absolutely committed a federal crime. She's also committed crimes against the state of Texas if she forged a birth certificate in Texas by providing fraudulent information. So that's a state crime, a federal crime, and she's an illegal immigrant? Ooh. Methinks that San Juana Francisco needs to be on the next bus. But hey, that's just me. Maybe I'm just a little too unforgiving of somebody who got all over the news, crying her eyes out to the mainstream media and playing the victim of a situation that she herself created, placing her son into a situation where he would become detained and living in the United States illegally with her other son, who's also here illegally, which I've come to the conclusion that this is just some of the most irresponsible parenting I have ever seen. Bringing your children to a country to live illegally. I don't know how you come out of that still considering yourself a responsible parent. And this is as a father of 4 children. I can't imagine that. I mean, I understand you're trying to get away from some cartel violence. Mexico is a big country. If things aren't going well in Reynosa, I don't know, move to Acapulco or something. Chiapas or wherever. There's dozens upon dozens of cities in Mexico, different states. They're actually a whole country. It's not just Tijuana en masse. Anyway, it's crazy. That being said, that music means we are halfway through the HoloNet podcast here on the Mighty Mojo 50. When we come back, we're going to hop over the pond, talk about Mr. Boris Johnson and Brexit. Stick around.
Allied reinforcements have arrived from the west.
On Mojo 50 Radio, the Millennial Conservative Resistance begins right here, right now.
Oh, yes indeed, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, children of all ages, you are listening to the new Millennial Conservative Resistance. It begins right here, right now with you. This is the HoloNet on the Mighty Mojo 50. And, well, as I alluded to, folks, we've got to do it. We've got to hop over the pond. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Boris Johnson, the Trump of the UK, complete with bad haircut and all, has become Prime Minister. That's right, Boris Johnson was voted Prime Minister by 160,000 members of the Conservative Party this past week. And just today, actually just yesterday, had a call with Angela Merkel, Chancellor of Germany, and had another one also with Emmanuel Macron of France. And in his very first call to both countries, has already managed to piss them off. It's insane. Go to a story from The Express. Boris Johnson stands up to Angela Merkel in first phone call as Prime Minister. He says there's only one solution to the Brexit scenario. Boris Johnson has had a tense first conversation with German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Oh, geez, what is this garbage? Oh, don't you hate pop-ups? Jeez. Anyway. Boris Johnson had a tense first conversation with German Chancellor Angela Merkel hours after he locked horns with French President Emmanuel Macron as the new Prime Minister continues to rattle through EU leaders demanding the Irish backstop to Brexit is removed. Now, the Irish backstop, if you're not familiar with the Brexit scenario, that is a series of programs, a series of regulations which keep Britain still closely tied to the EU in what's called oh goodness, what's the phrase I'm looking for? It's a common trade zone. Yeah, I'm sure I'm getting that phrase wrong there, but it's a common system of trade wherein the UK cannot adopt trading patterns with the United States based on its own standards and has to continue to uphold EU standards indefinitely with no end date in mind, and that is the non-starter of the backstop. Now, he put out a statement on Brexit. Here we go. He said, on Brexit, the PM said he would be energetic in reaching out to as much as possible to try to achieve a deal, but he has reiterated the message he delivered in the House of Commons yesterday. Parliament has ejected the withdrawal agreement 3 times, so the UK must fully prepare for the alternative, which is to leave without a deal on October 31st. He said the only solution is that will allow us to make progress is to abolish the backstop. The PM and the Chancellor did agree to stay in contact, though. So the backstop has long been the center of the debate and the poison pill for Theresa May. It's the main reason why the Brexit deal that she put together failed so spectacularly, because it quite simply keeps the UK under the same set of rules, but destroys the UK's ability to influence those rules. So imagine being subjected to the whims of Washington, D.C., without your state actually having a say, without having representation in Congress. That would be the situation that the UK would find itself in under the Brexit withdrawal plan, the deal that was put out there by Theresa May and by Claude Juncker, who's head of the EU in this regard. It is the UK becoming a colony of Europe. And if you want to see a proper breakdown of this, Carl Benjamin's done a number of great videos about it. Also, Computing Forever has done a number of great YouTube videos on there about how flawed this plan is and how catastrophic it would be, not just for England and the UK, but also for Ireland and the other EU partners who would then be under these same rules. Of course, Ireland is up in arms because Ireland... customs union, that's the word I was looking for before. Duh. Ireland is up in arms because Ireland doesn't want a hard border on Belfast. Ireland does not want to go back to the days of the Troubles. Who can blame them? I mean, I was reading up about that today. The death toll was ridiculous. I mean, for a lot of people my age, this is represented by the Cranberries song, now covered by Bad Wolves of Zombie. But to us, it's just a song. You know, we were little kids during the Troubles. A lot of us don't understand it properly. But when we're looking at it through the historical lens, what a horrific time. And it all centered around the border between Ireland and Northern Ireland and what that border would mean for people. And we're back to that disagreement now. And I actually read in a story today that the IRA considers this an opportunity. Can you believe that? They're looking at this all as an opportunity for them to achieve relevance again and push for Northern Ireland to leave the UK. So very important that we pay attention to our cousins overseas, both in Ireland and in England. Speaking of pay attention, have you been paying attention to your gut? I'm serious. That's a real question. Have you been paying attention to your gut? Because if you're not paying attention to your gut, you're not paying attention to your whole body's health, and you're not going to be doing very well, my friend. So you need to check out Atrantil. And that's on lovemytummy.com, lovemytummy.com/mojo50. And you need to get yourself some Atrantil. Atrantil has the active ingredients of polyphenols, which your body actually craves to regulate your digestive system. These polyphenols, they're rated for use by sportsmen and women, and they're tested and fall in line with all the requirements of advanced sports, and they help your body to regulate itself, cutting down on production of methane, cutting down on all the gassiness and the nastiness, the bubble guts leading to the rumbly tumbly, leading to the Hershey squirts. All that stuff can be taken care of through Atrantil. And that's lovemytummy.com/mojo. Use code MOJO at checkout, and that'll get you a 3-month supply for $99. Atrantil, check it out today. By the way, same makers of KBMD CBD oil. They work very, very well together to help alleviate some of the digestive issues that you might be having. And again, that's lovemytummy.com/mojo. Code MOJO for a $99 3-month supply. So moving back over to the United States, wanted to show you a quick story. I actually addressed this back at my previous posting, back there on Lanterns. Back when it happened in 2017, do you remember the 2017 referendum for Puerto Rico? Well, Puerto Rico's been in the news, and we have to talk about her because yes, she's making headlines again. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. There we go. Real professional outfit I'm running here. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez urges decolonization of Puerto Rico following the governor's resignation. The New York Democrat says the ouster was the first step toward Puerto Rican people's self-governance. Representative, have you been paying attention for like the last 2-3 years? Because they've taken several steps towards self-governance.
What?
I know. It's insane. But, yeah, sure enough. New York Democratic Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez told supporters Thursday that the announced resignation of Puerto Rico's governor was the beginning of the U.S. territory's, quote, decolonization, and called it the first step toward Puerto Rican citizens taking their own self-governance into their hands. Apparently she missed the history lesson. Ocasio-Cortez, who is of Puerto Rican descent, oh, it's a shame. Come on, you're of Puerto Rican descent and you missed that, was asked during an Instagram live stream about her thoughts on what's happening on the island. She said, "First of all, I'm so incredibly proud of everyone in Puerto Rico right now, coming together to demand accountability from their government," she began, before giving her followers a rundown of why and how people took to the streets demanding the governor's ouster. She said they were so relentlessly creative in their protest, and they were able to get the governor to finally resign, as well as some of his cabinet members, she continued. "I'm really proud of everyone that's out there, but of course, there's a lot of work to be done." Now, their governor, a Democrat, I should add, guy was a piece of work. Kind of glad he's out of there because he did worse than Hot Mike. You know, he was caught saying some really terrible misogynistic things that were just very, very inappropriate and unbefitting his office. And there were also some rather serious allegations of widespread corruption and just the overall poor response and poor distribution of Hurricane Maria supplies. Now, Fox News reported the Congresswoman went on to suggest Puerto Rico's independence from the United States, saying, "I believe this is really just the beginning of a decolonization process. So I'm really excited about the protest, and I'm encouraged to hear about Governor Rossello's resignation, but it's a first step. We have a long way to go." So, Hotifon, if we go back to an article from The Atlantic, this is from June 2017, so 2 years back, there was a plebiscite in Puerto Rico. The territory voted in favor of statehood, and that vote was sent to Congress. But it didn't really go anywhere, and it probably shouldn't go anywhere for the time being, because while 97% of the voters in Puerto Rico who voted in the referendum voted for statehood, only 23% of the total population actually voted. So, yes, we had 97% of 23% who voted for statehood. The vast majority of Puerto Ricans actually stayed away from the polls, preferring the status quo. And this is actually a vote that was largely spearheaded by the former governor, Ricardo Rossello, who is the leader of the pro-statehood New Progressive Party and echoed sentiments that the referendum's message was clear. He said, "The United States of America will have to obey the will of our people," he told the crowd. Except Governor Ricardo Rossello there, it's not the will of your people. It's the will of 97% of 23% of your people. So really, that's like, what, 21% maybe and change? That's not even a plurality, bro. Doesn't work out well for you. 2 years on, the guy's ejected from office. Go figure. On the mainland, the jubilation continued to reverberate. Congressman Jose E. Serrano, who was born in Puerto Rico, celebrated the results and claimed it as final proof that, quote, "Congress has a duty to listen and act upon these results so Puerto Rico can be decolonized once and for all." Now, there have been plebiscites and votes about Puerto Rico's final status over and over and over and over and over again. And they never come out the way you're going to think. Okay? There have been multiple referenda and votes on this, and Puerto Rico continues to have its rather unique political status as an associated state of the United States. It's an incorporated state of the United States. So it's a pretty big hurdle that they have to pass. Now, going to the Atlantic article, although the 97% pro-statehood vote has been touted as a near unanimous support, Turnout for the Puerto Rico referendum was abysmal. Fewer than a quarter of all voters voted at all after a controversy regarding the Department of Justice's certification of the ballot questions led to charges of corruption and a mass boycott among all opposition parties. As a result, the margin for victory for statehood was the highest ever. The total number of people who indicated support for the move, somewhere around 500,000 voters, is much lower than the previous referenda, in which statehood hit a high of 800,000 supporters in 2012. Add Puerto Rico's well-documented financial woes to this ambiguity about the popular support of the statehood and concerns about the validity of the ballot, and it's clear that Sunday's referendum actually displayed mixed results for the criteria used to initiate statehood. So after all that is said and done, what's really necessary here is yet another referendum. Yet another referendum. One that this time meets all the criteria for calling for statehood. One that actually includes the options of an independent Puerto Rico, continuing as a territory, as a commonwealth as they are now, or a free associated state as they call it, and one of full-blown statehood. And if they do choose statehood as an option, there has to be an ear given to how to resolve Puerto Rico's runaway debt and bring them in line with the standards that are imposed on all the states of the Union. And I mean all the standards. All of the federal standards that are in place, which I'm not 100% sure Puerto Rico wants that level of government. Maybe we should be a little bit more concerned with bringing our own government to heel before we bring more people under its auspices. Or has everybody apparently forgotten that President Trump agreed to a massive budget increase over the past week, which has been well reported all over the place, increasing costs by, I believe it was $120 trillion? $120 billion. But well over the $1.6 trillion mark for the deficit. And I said it before and I'll say it again. I'm very happy with President Trump's fiscal policy as far as his tax cuts were concerned, but they're only half of the equation. If you don't follow it up with the necessary cuts in spending, bringing us down to a financially responsible government, a balanced budget, with a plan to actually eliminate the deficit over time, then it's all still shuffling around deck chairs on the Titanic. And we have a president who made quite a name for himself, quite a business, quite a fortune in negotiating bad debts and settling debts and bankruptcies and things of that nature. And I respect that. But with all due respect, Mr. President, sovereign debt is a hell of a lot different from personal or business debt. I don't think you can quite restructure this the way that you think you're going to. There is no national equivalent to Chapter 11, is there? No. It's a higher stakes game. And I think the only way to play that high stakes game, the only way to win that high stakes game, I should say, is not to play it at all. Get America out of this situation, because, as we're going to explore in a future HoloNet episode, debt is slavery. And our Congress, over and over and over again, has signed our people into slavery, into eternal servitude. Because when you think about it, your time, your money is your time. Money is the vehicle by which you carry your labors into the future. It is how you convert your labor into something that you can trade for other goods and labors. So they are not just stealing your money. They are stealing your life. They are stealing your time. That's all we have. It's finite. Matt Locke touched on this today, and I think it was a fantastic piece. It might have been yesterday. But They're stealing our time. They're ripping our lives away, $1 at a time. And the deficit is so absurdly huge. The entire tax value of my working life, it will not be paid off. So it's not only me, it's not only our generation, it's not only your generation, if you're a boomer or if you're, silent generation or great generation, whatever generation you are, Gen Y, Gen Z, millennial. Not only have we been sold into eternal servitude by our Congress, by our elected officials, our children have been sold into bondage. Now, sold to who? Why, sold to Uncle Sam, because we are in debt to ourselves. Sure, a little bit goes to China, a little bit goes to Japan, but semantics. The vast majority of the American debt is owned by the Federal Reserve. And every time there's a debt ceiling increase, every time there's a budget that blows up everything, that is more time tacked on to the sentence of enforced slavery, of enforced servitude, bondage, and labor. Because every year it takes more of your paycheck to pay your taxes. Every year that calendar date of after this point I'm no longer working for the government gets pushed a little further away. Did you notice that? And I read a story today too. I'll try to find the link and get it to you. It was a little bit pessimistic. I didn't really care for it, but it said the epitaph of the Tea Party is the fiscal policy being enacted under the Trump administration, blowing up our deficit. It is the epitaph of the Tea Party. That in this, the Tea Party has failed. That there was one good law that placed limitations on the budget, that now President Trump is signing a law that will completely bypass it. It's maddening. It's frustrating. And this requires a level of intellectual honesty. It requires a level of nonpartisanship. It requires the people of good conscience, people of principle, stand up and say, I like a lot of what President Trump has done. I like when he owns the libs. I love that, he seems to genuinely love this country. But it looks like he done this one up. He seriously this up. I mean, how do you do that? And the fact that, I saw this silly Babylon Bee farcical satire article that it was AOC, I think a colleague sent it to me at work today. AOC loses at The Price is Right by guessing everything is free. Because when we hear these congressmen and women talking about tax dollars, talking about public funds and how they're going to do things out of public funds. Bernie Sanders loves to talk about we're going to use public funds.
Son of a bitch!
When do you realize that there's no such thing as public funds? That's my damn money. That's your money that the government has taken at the force of a barrel of a gun. Because if you and I don't pay taxes, we go to jail. So that's force that's being applied. That is a violent act, or the implication of violence. That they take that money from us and continually take that money from us. So they're stealing our time from us. They're taking our lives away $1 at a time, like I said before. And how long are we, as an American people, going to tolerate being enslaved by our own government? And the chains are hard to see.
Son of a bitch!
I hit that by accident. And the chains are hard to see, but you know their names. Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover. Don't leave home without them. It's that car that you couldn't afford. It's the house that might be bigger than you need. It's the debt. But that's you enslaving yourself. That's you putting on those chains of your own volition. When the government does it to you, it's a little bit different. Gotta get off my soapbox. Get off my soapbox and get on to some combat flip-flops. Have you been on combatflipflops.com yet? Combatflipflops.com. Use promo code HOLLOW25 on combatflipflops.com. Promo code HOLLOW25. Get you 25% off your combat flip-flops. Waging the peace. They're bad for running. They're worse for fighting. But every purchase that you make for combat flip-flops goes to the education, goes toward the education of a woman in Afghanistan who under the Taliban was not allowed to get an education. And this goes toward building up the war-torn nations that the veterans who run this company fought to defend. Their philosophy is business, not bullets. They want to flip the view on how wars are won through persistence, respect, and creativity. They want to empower the mindful consumer to manufacture peace through trade. Be a part of a community built on hope, passion, and strength. Rebuild nations through the power of the free market. Create change. Or just keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. Because, yeah, shoot. Maybe Walmart or Payless will do something nice for somebody. No, they're not gonna. Join the unarmed forces. Do it today. Combat Flip-Flops creates peaceful, forward-thinking opportunities for self-determined entrepreneurs affected by conflict. Their willingness to take bold risks, build community connections, and create distinct military-inspired designs communicate their business, not bullets approach. We hope. I know you're going to love their flip-flops, their style, and their approach to helping out in Afghanistan, Colombia, and Laos and supporting our troops. They've grown from an idea to a globally recognized brand with a mission to create lasting change. As they push forward, they'll continue communicating the positive impact that your purchases make on the factory workers, their growing economy, and community. Get on combatflipflops.com. Join the unarmed forces today. Use promo code HOLLOW25, HOLLOW25, 25% off your purchase. Now, I'm glad I managed to get that out there, folks, because it's that time again. It is that time again where we need to draw this HoloNet podcast to a close. And, I had a couple more stories that I wanted to get to. I really did. And, I'll get to those numbers on procrastination next week, I guess. Gotta pay my homage to the master. The good old Doc Thompson. But, we had a couple of stories that we wanted to get to as well from local Arizona about how, local people were responding to the president being able to build the wall now. Widespread positive responses from the Republicans, negative from the Democrats, as you would assume. But we will touch that on another day. In the meanwhile, folks, don't let Congress and the president get away with stealing your time, stealing your life from you in the form of your tax dollars. We mustn't forget that the government works for us and not the other way around, and they must be made to heal and to live and work within their means so that we may do so as a nation and grow together. From Phoenix, as always, good night. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. I'm Matt Holloway for the HoloNet and Mojo 50. End transmission.